Before we hop into this episode, I have a very exciting announcement that Inner Work Alchemy, my 8-week inner work program for spiritual souls who are ready to heal their blocks so they can finally step into their purpose, build unshakable confidence, and become magnetic as fuck, has reopened for enrollment. This is my signature program that only opens 4 times a year. And guys, when I tell you that this program is going to shift massive shit in your life, I am not kidding. Seriously, just like look at the testimonials on the landing page. If you're someone who has been aware that your inner child shadow wounds have been holding you back, but maybe you've dabbled here and there, but you haven't actually done any deep work to clear it, this is the exact program for you. The entire program is backed by science and spiritual tools that are going to help you shift your unconscious mind and change your life algorithm. What I mean by that is you are always speaking to the universe through your frequency, and your frequency is actually held down by your trauma and your limiting beliefs. So if you've been trying the manifestation tactics and you've been trying to follow your purpose, but you just feel like it works for everyone else but not for you, this is the exact program that you need to be in to really heal those blocks once and for all. We start this Wednesday, and you can find all the information on the landing page below, and I hope to see you inside. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Academy. It's your host, Kristen, and if you're new here, welcome to Alignment Academy. It's a school for your soul to grow, evolve, and just become your higher self. It's a beautiful place where we weave quantum manifestation, inner child work, entrepreneurship, spirituality, all that good stuff. And if you're new to me, I've been on the spiritual journey since I was 17 years old. It was quite a big awakening then, and I feel like this path chose me. However, many years later, here we are. It's evolved quite a bit in a way that I could have never, ever have dreamt up myself. So that's a little bit about Alignment Academy. I'm here with my co-host, one of my best friends, Ari, and she just helps me not have to talk to myself, have some candid conversations, and yeah, I'm really excited for the episode today. We're going to be talking a little bit about masculine and feminine energy. As you guys know, this last 6 months of my life have been what I call my feminine era. And if you guys are new to me or my work, like I always create chapters in my life. So like this summer I was in my human era, and then I was in my feminine era, and I actually feel like it's closing out quite a bit, but I don't have my new era yet. So we're on the tail end. But I thought a good graduation moment. Oh my God, this is my graduation. This is my graduation. I always have graduations for myself. But my graduation, it was like, let's recap it. Let's talk about what I've learned in this era. And Ari and I are pretty masculine.
No, I'm before you go into that, I'm so excited to talk about this today because yes, Kristen and we didn't realize it, but we're very much in a similar place in this journey. And it's hard, like being more on the masculine energetic wave of like go mode, and like what does that look like, and like we'll get into the details later, but yeah, what does it look like to really be in your masculine energy more often than not, and what does it feel like, and how do you shift between the two, and what does that look like, what does that feel like, is it a good thing, is it a not good thing? Like if you're realizing that maybe you're in an energetic state that you don't love, how do you switch between the two? And like can it, there's so much that goes into this conversation.
So much.
I'm so excited to talk about it, especially because you just realized that this is your graduation.
I know. I feel like it really is. Like I was telling Ari this weekend, I was telling this girl at the Joe Dispenza retreat, I'm like, I'm working on my feminine energy. And she goes, girl, you're not working on it. You are in your feminine. Like you are so powerfully in your feminine. I was like, yeah. Oh, and then I realized in that moment, and I told you this, I was like, I think some of it is identity.
Yeah.
I'm always like, I'm a masculine girl. It's like, when am I just going to stop saying that and identify as someone who actually is pretty balanced? Because the truth is in my work, I do need to be in my masculine.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually do think that in my life, yeah, we need to switch off a little bit more, but like I'm doing better.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm proud.
Yeah,
I'm proud. I'm very proud. Okay, wait, before we get into that, like just like little life update. Like, okay, spill the tea on
I get scared when she says that.
Spill the tea on, you have been more in your feminine. Something that Kristen was calling in when she got to her Joe Dispenza retreat, she's surrounded by what? I've never been to a Joe Dispenza retreat. Let me back up, okay? Sounds like a really fabulous place to meet a cute guy.
Always. I always meet cute guys at Joe Dispenza.
Kristen, you gotta spill the tea like a little bit for everybody. Like, did we meet anybody?
I mean, okay, I'm not dating anyone, no.
Like, no, but like
The tea is that whenever I'm at Joe Dispenza or at a retreat in general, because the energy is so supercharged, you can manifest really quickly and you can see reflections really quickly. So if you're feeling bad about yourself, you're going to see that reflection. If you feel like girls don't like you, you're going to see that reflection. If you feel ugly, you're going to see that reflection. But because it's so supercharged, as soon as you shift your energy, you'll see the shift. And I just told Ari, like, I was playing with energy a lot. I wanted to have some expanders. I wanted to have some cool connections. And there was this one meditation where I was like, let me play with my magnetism. Let me play with my feminine energy. And so we're in nothing. We're in the void. If you are a Joe Dispenza girly or gentleman, you know. And
if you're not, then you don't. Because I had no idea what that meant like a week ago.
Me and Jerry were, when we were having dinner the other night, me and Jerry were like using all of this like Joe Dispenza verbiage. We were like, yeah, I became nothing and then I fucking blah, blah, blah. And Ari was like, the fuck are you talking about? She's like, how do you become nothing? I'm like, you become no one, nowhere, no place, no time, nothing. You're just everything all at once. You don't know how to do that?
I was like, you broke the world? How'd you do that? Why does everybody know?
Then I taught her how to do it and she was like, oh, that was easy. So anyways, it was cool. Anyways, so
you were in the void, you were nothing.
I was nothing. I was tuning into being like really magnetic, my most magnetic self. And I was like, all right, source, if I really shifted my energy, show me how powerful I am. Let's fucking see. And after that, I kid you not, 6 guys came up to me, like got 3 of their numbers. I mean, again, I'm not saying I'm dating these guys. Like these are just amazing.
Kristen, the people are not like assuming that you're dating 3 guys at once. We just want to know the tea, okay?
Okay, yeah, I'm just talking kid. Honestly, these fucking guys are probably watching the podcast, so I'm trying to be careful, you know? Maybe. I don't know. They're all like, what do you do? I'm like, I have a podcast. Here it is. So now I'm like on the podcast spilling all the tea. Whatever. Hey.
So yeah, so basically you just like called it into existence and it just happened.
Well, yeah, I worked on my magnetism. I mean, so I do energy work, as you guys know. That's part of my business. I do energy healing. And one of the things that I love to do is create magnetism. So because I can read energy fields, a lot of times, like sometimes your energy field could be deflective, especially with like, if I'm looking at fear of being seen, for example. Fear of being seen is like, I'm trying to show up, but the energy is deflective. So it's actually moving away. And sometimes I've noticed that like when I get in groups of people, I don't want to take up too much space and my energy gets a little deflective. When I read my field, in order to change that, you have to do energy work and you can change it so that it's more of a vortex of energy. It's like coming in, right? It's magnetic. Think about a magnet. Everything's attracted to it, right? That's why we use the word magnetism. I'm blending all my fucking modalities in my meditations. I'm like doing inner child work. I'm doing my energy work. I'm doing Joe Dispenza. I'm becoming nothing. And like, that's just how I do shit. I just like blend it all. And that's like also how I create my meditations. But I do this thing, and it's actually in one of the Energy Works and Alignment Academy for the Magnetic Day, where like you basically fill yourself up with more of yourself. Like you you push your energy field out and then you fill yourself up with more of yourself. So it creates like this vortex of energy like coming into your center where like you're a magnet, right? And I do this.
I'm just so blown.
I did this, and as soon as I did it, then we had a lecture after. I went up to get a snack, and like it was lecture and whatever. I was just like, I need like a second because I just do. So I get a snack. I'm eating some papaya at a table alone. This guy walks by me and he stops in his tracks and he's like, I just gotta say, you're glowing. And I was like, thank you. And I was like, okay, it's working. So like, yeah, I go back in and I like go do the next meditation. I do more of the energy work because there's a lot of time in the meditations where you're kind of just doing nothing. You're focusing on nothing. So like sometimes I'm like, well, my brain waves are in theta. I might as well get some work done here. I'll shift some stuff. Yeah, then that night I literally had like so many people come up to me and made so many connections. And it was just like a beautiful moment of realizing like how much how we feel about ourselves and our energetic state really does reflect to other people.
Okay, Kristen, I'm so glad that you said that because I feel like that's just a perfect segue into today's conversation about masculine and feminine energy. And like, there's so much to explore with that. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with, it's not a gender, it's an energy, right? So like you can have men that are very in their feminine energy, you can have women that are very in their masculine energy. Optimal life force energy is when they're both in balance. It's the yin and the yang. It's this and that, right? It's like it's masculine and feminine. It's both. And when you have an equal amount of both, it's when magic happens, right? Like with masculine energy, a long time ago, I realized like I can't work any harder. I have to learn how to magnetize more to get further. And that was because I had mastered masculine energy. I've always been really good at being in the masculine. Some people are really good at being in the feminine. And just to kind of recap like what that would look like, you know, masculine is discipline, commitment, consistency, action oriented, forward motion, logical, driven, secure, stable, protective. It's just, I don't know. I'm like, it's just masculine energy. Just read the energy. You know, it's that kind of stuff. Feminine energy is more of this receiving energy. It's more the being energy, less the doing energy. So being, receiving, flowing with life. It's the magnetism energy. It's the emotional world, things like that. Like, what do you think other things that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I definitely agree with everything you said. Yeah. I think masculine's more something that a really easy way that I differentiate the two is like masculine's more the like go mode and then feminine's more the flow mode.
Exactly. It's the flow mode. It's like being super present, being open, being really just in flow with life. Whereas, you know, masculine energy has more of a goal. It knows where it's going. It knows what it needs to do. And, you know, something that we talked about last night briefly is like, the perfect way to describe masculine and feminine energy is when you're at an airport with your man versus when you're at an airport alone.
Yes.
When you're at an airport alone, you know, you are in your masculine. You got your passport, you got your bags, you know what gate you need to go to, you know what time you go
You
check
are
the
on
gate.
high alert. You are getting your coffee. You're making sure you got enough time to do this. You're doing this. You're very like in the know.
Yeah. When you're with your man at the airport, you're like, I don't know what gate is. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what time it is. I don't even know what time my flight is.
I'm gonna go to the little store kiosk and just peruse for no reason.
Yeah,
just like flowing, doing my thing.
Your brain is freaking not on. And you're present and you're having fun and you're flowing. And that masculine energy can create the structure and the safety for you to be able to do that because you know you're going to be able to get where you're going. Whereas, you know, if you need to be that masculine for yourself, that's a moment where you need to be in your masculine energy. So
to begin today's episode, I think it would be awesome if we both just touched on like where we are in our own lives with regard to masculine and feminine energy. For me, I'll say that I'm a triathlete chasing a world record in Ironman triathlons. I am extremely in my masculine energy quite frequently. And up until this point, it's been like definitely an overwhelming amount. I live in a house with, and I have lived in a house with 6 guys for the past window as well. So it has been like constant masculine energy up until a few weeks ago when I noticed a very interesting shift in my own desire for the energy that I was putting out. I realized that I kind of wanted to slow down a little bit more, be a little bit more intuitive. I actually started doing Pilates a couple of days a week as well. I started putting a little bit more attention into putting jewelry on, putting my jewelry back on, you know, like doing some of the more like slower things. And like that sounds strange to say because it's not like masculine is fast and feminine is slow. It's not that black and white. But like for me, that's how feminine energy really shows up. And it's like doing the tiny things like lighting a candle before bed, like
making things an experience.
Totally. Being a little bit more gentle with how I speak to myself in the morning, like even tiny things. But it's been a really interesting flow for me because I'm still very actively doing something that requires a lot of masculine energy. But I've realized that when I'm not actively training and I'm not actively like on a 100-mile bike ride, running a half marathon, like doing the training that's required to do the thing that I'm chasing right now, I'm just naturally kind of desiring more of a feminine, energetic state for myself. And like, that's been a really interesting flow for me. So what about you? Like, where are you in your life? How are things feeling? Like,
Yeah, I would say for the last 6 months, I've really been in soul school of understanding what the fuck feminine energy was. Like, even though it's like, it wasn't that I was that disconnected. I think that there is a deeper level of it that I needed in order to, number one, prepare myself for a partner and like receiving. And then number two, be even more magnetic in my business. Like I mentioned, I can't outwork anymore. There's no more work I can do. It's now about being more magnetic, being more in the receiving mode, like mastering energetic capacity, which means mastering the masculine and the feminine. And so I would say like I feel like I'm in a really good place with it. I feel like like I said, this is my graduation. I've learned a lot. I think that I've been doing a better job at turning off the work part of me. Like there's definitely days where I'm not perfect, right? Because the reality of it is I'm not in a relationship. I do live alone. I run my own business that has a lot of moving parts all the time. So like it does require me to be in my masculine. I'm done shaming that part of me because I think a lot of people are like, you're too in your masculine. I'm like, babe, but look what I've built. It's like gotten shit done, And I think that it's beautiful when you can have a healthy masculine. For me, it's about knowing when I need to shut it off and be in that feminine energy. And to be honest, our guy friends have helped with that. Especially this winter, it's like they cook us a lot of meals. They treat me with like I'll bring your bags downstairs. Austin Augustus, like, always like never lets me bring anything down.
So sweet.
Like, so sweet. So it's like, I think it's moments where you just get to be a little bit more in that present energy. And, something that I learned from Lauren, who was on episode 72 of Alignment Academy, and she was talking about feminine energy and dating. She really talked about it's like the energy in which you're doing things, right? So a really good example that I always think about in my mind is like going to the grocery store, right? You can go into the grocery store, have a goal, say, I need sauerkraut and cucumbers, go straight to the sauerkraut and cucumbers, grab them, go check out, go back to your car, not talk to a person, blah, blah, blah. That's very masculine. You got a goal, you got a desire, you do it, blah, blah, blah. Or
men love sauerkraut and cucumber. I guess
they do. Or you can be in your feminine energy. You can walk really slowly. You can smell the flowers. You can make cute conversation with the old man by the sauerkraut and be like, which one's the best one? Have you tried them all? Peruse through the aisles. Look for something new to buy. Have a really nice, loving conversation with the cashier. Not rush out. And it's like, it's the whole experience of going to the grocery store. It's not just, I went to go get that thing. I did it. I came. It's like neither one are good or bad. And you might have less time one day and need to do the first one. But it's like, for me, it's been practicing, how am I being in this moment? Like even smaller things. I notice that, for example, when I go to the gym, I don't need to get out of my car really quick and rush. It's like, I'm not really in a rush. So I'm going to get out of my car, take my time getting my bags out, walk really slowly to the door, say hi to the person. Like it's just in the energy in which I'm doing it. And I realized a while ago, I am rushing through my entire life and no one needs me. I work for myself. Why am I in a rush? And being in my feminine energy has really been slowing down and being more present and doing things like for the experience of doing it and not just doing it to get it done.
Totally. I love that. Something that I want to talk about is
quick interruption to this episode because I have to tell you something. And what I have to tell you is I'm literally freaking obsessed with doing energy work. This has been one of my favorite modalities that I've added to my spiritual toolbox to shift my energy really freaking quickly. And as you guys have learned in Alignment Academy, this is a vibrational based universe, meaning as your energy shifts, the reflections in your life also shift. People that you're attracting, the experiences that you're attracting, the money you make, literally everything shifts. In Alignment Academy, Academy, my membership, part of it is that there are guided energy works added to the portal every single month. And I really want you to be able to experience this energy work because, guys, it literally works so quick. Your reality shifts so quick. The testimonials have been insane inside of Alignment Academy. So because you're a listener of Alignment Academy, I'm offering you a free guided energy work session in exchange for rating and reviewing the podcast. All you have to do is follow my podcast Instagram at Alignment Academy Pod on Instagram. And then after you've rated and reviewed the podcast, just screenshot it, send me a DM on Alignment Academy Pod, and I'll send you the link to download your free guided energy work. During this energy healing session, we're going to be working on your confidence and your self-love. When you are filled with your own confidence and your own self-love, you are magnetic as fuck to the rest of the world. Magnetism is created when we are so filled up with love for ourselves. It's also created when we just really fuck with ourselves super hard. Like, think about really magnetic people. They're not asking other people to like them or validate them. They're just like, I really fuck with me. And if you want to too, then yay. And if not, then it's all good. I can't wait for you to try this energy healing. Please DM me and let me know how it goes. And now let's get back to the episode.
Kind of what you just highlighted, like this ability to flow between energies and how that's really important. Because I think up until a few weeks ago, I was like, all right, I got this big goal. In order to achieve it, I got to be in my masculine all day, every day. And that's it, period. These past few weeks, it's been so beautiful to like watch myself just like naturally flow between energies. And like, I find that I'm getting better at it. Sometimes it is hard to like really take myself out of my masculine after a training session and like really get into my feminine. But a really easy way that I've learned that I'm really receptive to is through little rituals. So for example, like if I finish a training session, because I train usually 2 to 3 times a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, sometimes another one midday if I need to, but just kind of depends. So if I have a morning session, then, you know, I'll most likely be pretty in my masculine all morning. And then in order to like kind of take myself out of that, I will, like I mentioned before, light a candle and take a shower with a candle and like some really soft music playing. Like that's like a really tiny little ritual that just kind of like gets me okay. Or, you know, after I take a shower, I'll make a point to put on all my jewelry. Like I'm not seeing anybody. I'm not doing anything. I don't need to put a full face of makeup on. And quite frankly, I don't really love makeup. Like I just don't love putting it on because I usually train multiple times a day. So like I can't really be wearing makeup during the day anyways. But putting on a couple rings, putting on my earrings, like it's such like a tiny little thing that just like immediately helps me flow into that. So I'd love to chat with you about like the value of flowing between energies, how that can be really important, what benefits you can really reap from that, and like how to really do that.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I want everyone to just kind of chew on is, where do I flow mostly? Where am I mostly at? Because if you're mostly in your feminine, which actually a lot of my clients mostly are in their feminine, and that's why they're attracted to me because they need more masculine, then your work is going to be mastering your masculine. If you're more in your masculine than like me, then your work is going to be being more in your feminine. Something that I also want to point out, because it was really hard for me, is when I was working on my feminine energy, I remember talking to one of my mentors and being like, I just am never going to be one of these like sexual, like feminine, like girl on Instagram. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't really know what you're talking about.
How is
all of the sound effects though?
I can never be feminine because I'm never going to be that. And my mentor reminded me, Kristen, there's so many versions of the feminine. There's feisty feminine. There's fierce feminine. There's slow feminine. There's sexual feminine. There's all these different archetypes of the feminine energy, and it doesn't have to look like that girl who is, you know, putting blood on her face on Instagram. No, like no judgment, but like I'm just never going to be that girl, you know? And so I think that just to deduce it down into my Virgo moon, like wants to like create steps for people, take an audit, see where you are. Are you more masculine? Are you more feminine? And then kind of make a plan of like, okay, in order, like what are your goals? Because like for me, my goals were, I want to prepare for my next partner. I want to be able to be more magnetic like in my life because magnetism is feminine energy. I want to be able to not feel so stressed out all the time. So like I want to go into my feminine energy, like kind of get clear on what your goals are for it. And then from there, I think it's really helpful. Then you can kind of create rituals around like how you're going to do that or what practices you want to do in order to get into the different energy.
Love that. Could you speak to like why it's important to flow between energies?
Because we're out of balance if we're in one more than the other. If you're all flow, you're not going to get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to reach your goals. You're not going to be able to do what needs to be done on this earth. If you're too in your masculine, you're going to be burnt out. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to be overworked and overthinking like I was, right? It's like, it's just not, too much of anything is not healthy. So I think that the real balance of, why are we even on this podcast? We're on this podcast because I want to help you reach your highest timeline, be your higher self, like get the most out of this life that you can. And like, you have to master both.
Mm-hmm.
This is your moment of mastery. This is the next octave. This is the next level of the journey is like, okay, where am I at? How do I get more of the other energy that I need?
So now let's talk about some practices for masculine and feminine energy.
If you need more masculine energy, you want to think of doing things that are more, I don't want to say action focused, but a little bit. So like typically people who are really in their feminine have trouble getting into their masculine because their emotions are almost like in the driver's seat. And what I remind them is like, I'm like, I want you to just like visualize men in a business meeting, right? I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying men know how to be in their masculine. When they're making business decisions, when they're posting online, do you think that they're like, do you think that my aunt's gonna like this? Or like, do you think I should do this? They're just like, this needs to be done, right? It's very just like direct. It's, you do the thing. You get into that energy. And so for me, the way that I get into my masculine energy my whole life was like honestly weightlifting. Like I work out every single morning and I lift weights, and I actually think it puts me into that like go-getter energy. It puts me into that like drive energy. And even smaller things like make a list of what you need to do today. Make decisions from a less emotional standpoint. Like take a moment to be like, okay, emotions aside, what needs to be done in order to get to the goal?
Mm-hmm.
It's very just like action and end goal focused. And I think it's just a muscle, just like feminine energy is a muscle. You have to put yourself in those places. I also think spending time around men is really going to help. Like
I was going to say that feels like kind of a cheat code. Like it's a really easy way to just like automatically get into your masculine. Like duh, saying that out loud seems like obvious, but like if you feel like you're struggling, that's a really easy way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you want to have healed masculine because with both sides, there's also healed and wounded. Like there's healed masculine, there's wounded masculine. This is stuff I cover in my programs. And then there's also like healed feminine and wounded feminine. So like, for example, healed masculine would be like, you're decisive, you're safe, you're supported, but like then the wounded could be like you're overworking, you're burnt out, like you're aggressive, you're angry,
Mm-hmm.
So there's spectrums to both. But yeah, hanging out around really healthy masculine people can be really helpful to just like get in your masculine. And yeah, so that's some practices that you can do to get into your masculine. Feminine, something that I've been playing with is number one, how I dress, dressing where you feel beautiful, taking time to do your hair, taking time to like genuinely just feel good. And for me, I'm like, I feel good when I feel like I look good. So I'm going to just like take some extra time to do this. Having slower mornings instead of rushing out the door all the time. It's like lately I've been meditating, and then I make myself a cup of coffee, and then I put my clothes on really slow and put music on while I do it. And then I go to the gym. It's like just doing things a little bit more slowly and then doing things that are more experiential. So like I mentioned, or like you mentioned, and I do too, is at night before I'm making dinner, like instead of rushing to make dinner and just like clean up whatever, it's like, okay, let me set the scene. I put my little vibey lights on. I put the candles on. I set some background music. I make myself this beautiful meal. I don't rush through it.
Mm-hmm.
I stay present, So
I like that I just want to emphasize this really fast. I like that you said doing things that make me feel good, and I feel good when I look good. Because that doesn't mean to be in your feminine, you have to look quote unquote good. That doesn't mean that you have to put on a full face of makeup and that you have to like dress to the nine in a ball gown. Like being in your feminine equals feeling good to you, whatever that looks like to you. And at the moment to you, you said looking good, and that looks very differently than how I feel when I feel good, and how I look good and blah, blah, blah. So just wanted to highlight that. Love that you said that.
Yeah. And I think it's all about being more in your body.
Yeah.
Like it's about being more, taking time to sit with your emotions, taking time to process and journal. And it's like the presence of like dancing and, it's that softer energy. I think it looks different for everyone. I think a lot of girls get in their feminine by like dancing, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not that type of girl.
Well, some girls get in their feminine by baking or, putting on red lipstick, putting on like getting their nails done, getting a massage, getting their hair done. Like doing, it can look so differently for everyone, I think is the bottom line.
Yeah, it looks different for everyone. And I think you just have to have a taste of the energetic signature. Something that I really would love for everyone to do too is find someone who you feel is in their feminine or in their masculine that you identify with, right? So those girls that I was seeing on Instagram that were like dancing and, feeling their bodies and stuff, like I didn't resonate with them. And so for me, when I wanted to step more into my feminine, I found women who were in their feminine, but that I identified with, or in the feminine that I wanted to be with, right? So it was more people that were entrepreneurs, CEOs, and like I could tell they had a healthy balance of masculine and feminine energy. And I desired like that energetic signature. So I studied their energy. And that's just something that I do all the time. When I want to be something, if I want to be richer, if I want to be more successful, if I want to make more money, more abundance, more feminine, more masculine, I will literally find people who are that, and I will study them, and I will learn from them, and I will invest in working with them. And I will literally be like, okay, you have what I have, but I just need to understand how you did it. Like, I'm not here to like recreate the whole game all the time. I'm just here to, I don't need to recreate the wheel. I just need to understand how you're doing this.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so on the heels of that, in terms of just like taking leaps and bounds towards what you're chasing or what you want to be doing, right? Kristen and I went to a super fun poetry and cacao night. I think we should totally share about this. So this was definitely a little bit out of both of our elements. I think going into it, we were kind of not really sure what to expect.
We're like, I don't know.
Like, as we mentioned before, I think both of us are a little bit more naturally in our masculine state or masculine energy. And so, some of our friends are definitely more in their feminine. We have both actively been like, you know what, I kind of want to push myself and like fall more into see what that feels like. Like, but by the way, also, when it comes to energy, I feel like you're allowed to try different hats on of like what different things feel like. Like, I think in my head, I know what feminine energy feels good to me, but sometimes I like to try on other hats. So like, this is a great example of, okay, this was a really fun event. Let's just go and see what it feels like to be surrounded by other women and like writing poetry and drinking cacao and like being really gentle in that capacity. And it was really fun. I think there were a lot of really interesting takeaways that we both had. And like one of the biggest ones was, oh my gosh, I really enjoyed that. That felt really good and natural and very unexpected. But yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. And I think to your point, of putting yourself in situations, that it was a really good thing for us because our friend who is very feminine invited us. And I think that in a weird way, she's like teaching me how to be more feminine. Like she's so in touch with her emotions, and she like loves sitting around with her girlfriends and like drinking cacao and writing poetry, which are beautiful things, but they're not things that I'm going to do naturally.
And this was a weeknight, might I add.
Yeah.
Like this was also why Kristen and I were like, okay, I would never do this on my own, but I think we should go to this because I think it could be good for us. Let's try it.
And it was so good for us. Like it was so good to connect with new people and like drop into my heart and,
on a Tuesday,
write poetry. Like guys, I haven't written poetry since I was like in 5th grade. And so, and my poem was good.
It was good.
But I think it kind of tickled a spot that I hadn't touched in a while. I think with this journey, so much of it is just getting uncomfortable. Like if you're mostly in your masculine or you're mostly in your feminine, it's going to be uncomfortable to go lift weights. It's going to be uncomfortable to go to poetry night. Like, but those are the things that just give you a little bit more of a taste of what that energy is like. And that gets integrated into you and you're able to operate it from a little better.
Totally agree. Bottom line, if you're new to either energies, try on different hats, go for it. Why not? Get a little uncomfortable.
Study it, feel into it. You know,
there's so much beauty in both, and it's so healthy to flow between the two. There's not one that's right, one that's wrong.
And I think that the optimal way of being is knowing that also you're going to have seasons. Like, there have been seasons where I just needed my masculine energy, and I like love my masculine energy and I enjoy it and I have gratitude for it. And there's also seasons where like you're going to be more in your feminine energy, right? Like probably when you're pregnant or when you're having a baby, that's probably a season where you need more feminine energy. And there's never going to be an equal balance of both. It's always in flux. But I think that the more that you're have the skill of tapping into both and knowing when to call on both, that's when the magic happens. And I actually just created this energy healing inside of Alignment Academy, the membership, where it's balancing your masculine and feminine energy. And it's been really fun because I was playing with this energy work for a while. I did like 3 weeks where I would pull in a ton of feminine energy and just like see how I felt. And at the end of the 3 weeks, I like couldn't work out, and I didn't know why I couldn't work out. And I was at the gym talking to my friend for 30 minutes, and I was like, I think I just want to go home. I do not know what's wrong with me, but I just can't work out these days. And then I was like, oh my God, it's because I've been pulling in so much feminine energy. I just don't feel like doing anything. And so that's why I'm saying like the balance of both is really good. And also play with it, like really play with it. It's something that is there to play with the energy of. So
yeah, energy is playful.
Yeah. And when you're in the realm of like creating your life, like you have to be playful with it. You got to be lighthearted and just be like, I'm here for the experience. So
love it.
Yeah. Yay. Well, I feel like that's a good place to end. I hope you guys had some good insights about where you're at. Maybe if not, then like reflect on where you're at and let me know if you have any questions. If you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe, like it. It really helps the channel grow. I'm so grateful. And if you're watching this on Spotify or Apple, please, please, please go ahead and rate and review this podcast. It helps me so much. And I want to keep giving you guys free value and having really dope conversations. So thank you again for being here, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the episode, fam. I hope you enjoyed this one. Just a quick reminder that if you want to enroll in Inner Work Alchemy, this is your last call to enroll. All the links are below, and I hope to see you inside.